I wrong for refusing to pay extra so my sister can save money on our family holiday? My mum, my sister, and her children recently went on holiday together. Mum and sister live about an hour south of the airport, and I live about an hour north. They couldn't fit themselves, 3 children, and the luggage in one car, so I drove my car overnight down to them, which was a 2-hour drive, and then drove with one of the children and some luggage up to the airport, which was another hour. The airport parking and charges came to about £115 a car, so just under £230 for both cars. I suggested the 3 adults split that equally, so it was about £76 each. My sister refused and wanted me to pay for my own car. She said I should have left my car at hers and we should organise using the roof rack on the one car. But it meant when we landed at 3 a.m. on the way home, I would have to gone down an hour south to collect my car and then driven 2 hours north back home before starting a full day at work the next day. If I had been travelling alone, I wouldn't have needed parking at all. I would have just got a taxi or a lift. I wasn't asking for money for extra fuel or mileage. I only wanted the airport costs split fairly, because my second car was used to accommodate their family. In the end, my mum told me just to drop it because she didn't want my sister kicking off. Now I feel like I'm being punished for not being the one that made a scene. Am I wrong? So my take, I don't think she's wrong here. The biggest issue for me is the sister's family is the reason the second car was needed in the first place. If it was just the 3 adults travelling, they could have gone together in one car and paid one lot of parking. Or OP could have got a lift, like she said. She also didn't ask the sister to contribute towards any of the extra miles she did, or the expense for that. That was 3 hours of driving she didn't need to do. She was literally just asking for the total parking costs to be split 3 ways. And the alternative that her sister suggested sounds completely ridiculous. There was no need for her to drive to her mum's at all if she didn't need to use the car to get to the airport. So it sounds like her sister's just trying to come up with an excuse not to pay. And also her mum telling her just to pay it to avoid her sister kicking off makes me ask why the person who's being reasonable has to make sacrifices for the person that's going to make a scene. If I was her, I'd absolutely expect the cost to be split 3 ways. But if I was the sister, I would have offered it anyway. Not wrong. Am I wrong for contesting my ex's life insurance so my daughter got all the money? So my ex and I divorced several years ago. As part of our financial settlement, it was specifically agreed in our divorce order that he had to maintain a £500,000 life insurance solely for the benefit of our daughter. The agreement was very clear: if he died whilst the policy was in place, the entire $500,000 was intended for our daughter. I wasn't allowed to change beneficiary arrangements without my agreement. This was a life insurance policy that we both contributed to for the entirety of our marriage. Unfortunately, he died last year in an accident. When I contacted the insurers, I discovered he had changed the policy after our divorce. He added his 2 younger children from his new marriage as beneficiaries, but he hadn't increased the policy, meaning my daughter would receive roughly £166,000 instead of the $500,000 she should have. That money was specifically secured in our divorce settlement. I immediately instructed a solicitor and challenged the payout. The insurer paused the payout until the legal action was dealt with, and eventually the matter was settled. The full £500,000 is now in a protected trust for my daughter. The problem is my ex is widow. She now says that I've taken money away from her children, and they were entitled to their father's life insurance too. I tried to explain I didn't create this arrangement. I do feel awful for them. But all I did was make sure the arrangement their father had made was honoured. Am I wrong? Honestly, I don't think she's wrong here, even though this one does sound a bit harsh. I think the biggest thing for me is it wasn't the fact that she saw this big payout and decided her daughter should have it. That amount was agreed as part of their divorce settlement. The whole point of the life insurance was to make sure that their daughter was protected. And the OP had contributed to it during the marriage. He shouldn't have been able just to decide to split it between 3 children instead of 1, especially without her knowing. If it was agreed that the entire policy was meant to be for her daughter, then I can completely understand why she challenged it. I'd do the same. And actually, I think she'd be letting her daughter down if she didn't challenge it. However, I do feel sorry for the other 2 children because none of this is their fault and they've also lost their dad. And really, no one should be dragged in an argument about money. But ultimately, their dad was the adult who made the agreement, and his widow would understandably be upset about the situation. I don't think that makes the mum wrong for enforcing an agreement that was specifically made to protect their daughter. For me, this one's pretty clear. Not wrong.